Hi everyone, a Magic Joy is here, and we're going to discuss about non-legendary mage unit in Sword of Convallaria. I am so excited to discuss about this, as some of you might already know that I really love mages. These are my opinion and thoughts about them that hopefully won't be too overrated for you guys. But as usual, I'm always open for discussion about every topic that I share, and it would be nice if I could learn some insights from you, especially if you've been playing on this game for a long time in Taiwan server. So here we go, my non-legendary mage units recommendation build in Sword of Convallaria. The first one is Fire Mages. These units are specialized in manipulating tiles and inflicting status burn to deal extra damage to the enemies. These units usually useful to clear PvE content such as stories and Tower of Conquest as well. There are a couple of fire mages that I know in Sword of Convallaria, but for now, let's just talk about the non-legendary units that will be included on this class. This is really important to know that some fire mage's skill could effectively change some kinds of tiles to burning tiles that might cause burn status whenever a unit pass through or step on it. Burn is a debuff that causes the unit to lose 10% of their maximum health at the end of their turn, and this debuff couldn't be stacked. But if another burn is applied, it will immediately cause one-time damage to the unit. Well, now you have pretty much basic knowledge about what fire mages can do and what burn can do to your enemies. So let's now jump to the units that I want to talk about. The first one, we have Flame Witch. She is one of fire mages that is available on epic rarity in the game. Her trait: give her additional attack up to 15% and allow her to burn up to 2 random enemies within 4 squares range at the end of the turn or the action. She also has one of the biggest multiplier move called Pyroblast that can deal 200% magic damage on the enemy that is affected on burn debuff, but it requires 4 energies and it's a single target move. You can build her as a support or full damage dealer because at the rank 3, she would have an option to give you a movement buff or another passive to burn her injured enemies within 3 squares of range for 2 rounds. The reaction skill that she has allow her to be immune to burn debuff, and if she stands on the burning tiles, she would have 10% damage reduction and would heal her for 20% of her maximum health at the end of the turn. For me, I would personally use the Catalyst just to learn her skill at the rank 3 so I could use her to fit my needs on clearing some stages. And here is the skill tree recommendation for her. Darklight Fire Mage. This unit is one of rare rarity unit mage in Sword of Convallaria. In my opinion, he might be useful as substitute of Beryl if you couldn't have her to deal big AoE damage. Being a rare unit, he might not as strong as Beryl, but he pretty much useful to deal a lot of AoE damage for your team. His trait gives him additional up to 15% magic attack and another reaction ability, which in injured or dying state, he will cause 20% fire attribute AoE damage to all enemies within 2 squares of himself. The cooldown of this ability could be reduced up to 1 round based on how many stars level that he has. The special thing about this unit is his capability to inflict block heal debuff on his enemies whenever he's doing a single target attack that could be very useful for certain stages, especially Tower of Conquest. He also has the same reaction skill that Flame Witch has, so he's pretty much immune to burn and could receive 10% less damage with 20% health regeneration at the end of his turn when he's standing on the burning tiles. For more detail, you can see my skill build recommendation as I'm showing it on the screen. Iria Fire Conjurer. Personally, this is actually my first favorite unit when the first time I played this game. She is really helpful in early game, especially when she reaches rank 1 and get the Pillar of Fire skill. What I could say is, her trait is very unique. It gives her additional magic attack up to 20% and 40% of armor penetration when there are 2 or more ally units within 2 squares from her. Armor penetration is a really strong status in this game. It would be very useful to fight some bosses in certain stage, especially for the endgame PvE content. With the combination of the Sun Turret Whisperer, she could have up to 80% of armor penetration in total, as long as she keeps her distance close with another 2 allies. Not only that, you could also get a passive to give her another 20% damage increase and damage reduction buff that would be triggered by the same condition to trigger her trait, which I believe she could be a real deal for a low tier unit. And she might be considering as a special unit as well because she has an access to an aura ability to increase 10% attack and also 20% defense of all the units that associate with Iria. Here is my skill tree recommendation for her. Now, let's jump to Ice Mages. These units are specialized in defensive and supportive abilities and AoE magic skill that could change the tiles to be frozen, which is enhancing the range of knockbacks, and also walking on or pass through it will consume an additional 1 movement power for every square. Frozen Floor is really useful when most of your units are attacking from range like archers or mages, and also you can use the advantages of it to knock back your enemy units as far as you can. Darklight Ice Mage. This unit is very specialized in defense. He could be a really good support for your team with good energy regeneration that makes this unit could cast pretty much any spell that requires more than 2 energy every turn. His trait is giving him additional magic attack up to 15% and gain a physical shield with 20% value of his maximum health when he is being injured or in dying state. This ability has a cooldown down to 1 round starting on 3 star. At rank 7, this unit has an ability to give self or ally unit a physical shield equal to 130% of his magic attack that would be useful in any case, especially if you have a good tanker that could take any physical damage for your team, or you could give it to your main damage dealer unit and keep them healthy to deal more damage to the enemies. Alternatively, you could also build him to be a hard CC unit that could freeze your enemy for 1 turn. It might be helpful for some situation, but I mostly use him as a defensive or supportive unit for my tank and to block my enemy movements. And here's my skill tree build recommendation for Darklight Ice Mage. Papal Ice Mage. This unit is quite unique, as you probably know that most of the mages usually has the destroyer role, but not on this one, because Papal Ice Mage is a watcher. I'm starting to wonder if this unit is specially designed to counter most of destroyer units, because this unit could provide you an aura to reduce AoE damage by 25% for allies within 2 squares from him. The trait of this unit will increase his magic attack up to 15% and giving level 2 buff to increase physical defense by 40% for 2 random allies within 2 squares of this unit at the end of the turn. At rank 7, this unit could learn either a long-range 5 squares linear AoE spell or a massive 3 squares diamond shape around self AoE spell, which both could be used to decrease speed and movement of the enemies. I personally love this unit very much because of the utility and offensive ability that this unit has, make him very useful in most of situations. And now you could see the skill tree build that I recommend for this unit here. I don't know what's the name of this unit, but I call it Abyss. As usual, last but not least, she is another AoE damage dealer and debuffer at the same time. Her trait will increase her magic attack up to 15%, and at the end of her turn, she will give 1 random debuff for 2 enemies within 4 squares around her. It depends on how you build her. She could be a real debuffer or just a constant AoE damage dealer for your team. Erosion ability will make her constantly giving 2 level 1 debuffs to the enemies within 3 squares around her, which will weaken your enemy's power. So just imagine that you could give like 3 debuffs in 1 enemy at the end of her turn. While having a crystal affinity on her passive will make sure you will have enough energy to spam your AoE damaging skill for every turn that will block your enemy's passive skill and reaction skills for 2 rounds. Her reaction ability is also pretty strong because she could have up to 38% damage reduction if the attacker has at least 3 debuffs on them. So this would be a special case for this one. I will give you 2 skill builds for this unit. If you want to use her as an AoE damage dealer, then I suggest you to follow the left skill tree, but if you want her as a real debuffer, I would recommend you to follow the right skill tree that I put on the screen. Oh wow, that's really long video to cover, but I'm so excited to share this information to you guys. So, what do you think about them? Are you interested to build some mages for your team? Let me know your opinion about them as well by commenting on the comment section below. Bye now!